Welcome to the Awesemo Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Adam Ship, my money share, as we bring you a 4-game Tuesday slate. Now buckle up, campers, because wait for it, this one starts at 8 o'clock. So we have an 8, an 8:30, a 10, and a 10:30. Limited player pool, but some intriguing teams and options. Potentially a Carmelo Anthony sighting. Adam, how are you feeling about this Tuesday slate?
I wish it had more games on it, but at least the games that we're getting should be pretty interesting. Golden State and the Pelicans both on the same slate again, so should be no shortage of value.
You know that. How did you do on Sunday? I just was bad at everything I did on Sunday.
Yeah, so was I. I wasn't real happy with my basketball lineups because I didn't. I what I should have done was just like not put LeBron and Davis on the same lineups. But what ended up happening was because there was so much value, I basically got like 100% LeBron, 90% Davis, and then mixed and matched the value, which I was fine with. But I should have done a better job of spreading out my exposure to some of the higher upside guys other than those two. It also didn't go well because I was very underweight on Kai Bowman because um, he was basically out of the rotation the game before, and then even once Russell got hurt, he played like 10 minutes in the half. Then they announced he wasn't starting, everything looked good, and then he ties his career high in points in the second half. So everyone that played him got bailed out anyway. So it just wasn't a good slate.
Yeah, and that was a rough one with the Bowman, and it's kind of interesting, and we'll spend just a minute on this since we only have 8 teams in our player pool. We'll go game by game just to give you a little something for us to chat about here. But looking at some of these value guys, we saw it with Raul Neto. Kai Bowman, people got lucky a little bit. Aaron Holliday, I know people are flocking to him. With somebody like Holliday, we've got a runway. He started for 5 or 6 games now, and he's gotten over 30 fantasy points once. On Monday, 4,100, totally fine on FanDuel, but 5,500 or 5,400, whatever he was on DraftKings, gets a little tougher there, just because you don't have the demonstrated upside of anything going on. Now, could he have a great game? Sure. I mean, we saw Raul Neto have a 30 fantasy point game. Congratulations to him. That was his 7th game over 20 fantasy points in his last 125.
Currently is having a great game, if you hadn't noticed.
Oh, I haven't looked yet. So, but just throwing it out there, and then,
right.
But when they get the chalk gets that heavy, if these guys do adequate, I'm not even saying do bad, just adequate, like a 20 fantasy point outing, and they don't kill you because they're so cheap. They actually can kill you if there's somebody that does better that you don't have as a result of having this guy. So it's kind of when you get those overwhelming guys over 60%, you really have to start deciding what you want to do. And there's really, there's always the 3 outcomes: match the field, go over on the field, or go under. And the going under is it's harder to do in basketball than it is baseball or football, etc., because basketball minutes are king. We know that the teams are going to score, X number of points no matter who's out there, and guys are going to get those stats, unlike baseball or football, where you may not get a pass thrown to you. Baseball, you may not get a hit, whatever it might be. But just something I think we aren't thinking enough about.
Yeah, and as far as the Bowman thing goes, like, he was 3K on DraftKings, so I don't even mean it like he was a bad play. Like, it's really, really, really tough to fail at 3K, and he obviously had a path to a good game by doing exactly what he did. It was just that with all the value on that slate, and people absolutely were over projecting his minutes because they thought it was going to be the same deal that it was the last time Russell was out, that because of all the value, you didn't have to play that 3K guy. So it was a good spot to be underweight, and then it was just frustrating because then he goes absolutely nuts in the second half, so he plays like the entire half.
Yeah, and I went to bed, so I missed that. Or, we were watching a Hallmark movie.
Same thing as going to bed.
It pretty much is. Guess what? Some stranger came into town and or lost his job, and or there was a significant other who was in a relationship they didn't like and fell in love with the stranger, and there was Christmas carols. There you go.
Right.
Hallmark movies. By the way, there's 96 of them. My wife was and her friend and my mom are all over here visiting because my mom's birthday tomorrow. And so they're all out here in Virginia with us, and they're talking about, should we watch them all? I'm like, you can watch 2 of them. You've seen all of them.
Right.
So we shall see. I'm ensconced in all things Hallmark. But on a fun note, they took a Monopoly game, and for one of their friends, so they all do the half marathon. So this is a couple of the people that are out here are part of the running group with my wife. So one of them is turning 60. So they're turning a Monopoly game into it's a Hallmark Monopoly game, but they're turning in all the cards and the places where that you land on there, because they're very crafty and artistic. They're turning it into a game of where they've gone on all of their half marathon trips.
No, nice.
So that the if they were in New Orleans, they have their little, one of the squares is something from New Orleans. If they were in Louisville, it's one of the distilleries they went to, or whatever it might be. So it's kind of neat what they're doing with that. But it's been a Hallmark weekend, shall we say? But let's get back to DFS. That's why I've been hiding in my office. Occasionally, the dog comes and hides in here with me. But we've got the 4 games. Just looking at. Oh gosh, who is on back to back? So let me think here. Portland is playing in Houston. They're going to New Orleans. We may see Carmelo Anthony with them. We saw Golden State, Memphis, New Orleans, and Memphis, Golden State all played on Sunday.
Phoenix, OKC, and Portland.
There we go. Thank you. Phoenix is on the back to back. OKC on the back to back. Lakers at home. Sacramento at home. Yeah, a lot of teams that are dinged up. So we should not be wanting for value plays. Let's start off here with Golden State. Are we going back to Ky Bowman?
Not well. If he starts, I think you can project him for a lot of minutes. But if they start the same lineup that they did last time with Burks over him, then I think it's the same kind of thing where if he plays really well, he'll close. But if he doesn't, then, and I think the most likely outcome would be that he doesn't close and he plays 20 to 24 minutes, and you get a closing lineup of Green, Burks, Robinson, Pascal, and Cauley Stein. So if he comes off the bench, I'd be pretty hesitant. His price tag is up to 4,700 as well. If he starts, then I think that you get a lot of minutes out of him. It's just that I don't want, if he's coming off the bench, I don't want to give him like a 28 or 30-minute projection, because I don't think that the last game is indicative of what to expect every time out if he comes off the bench.
All right. I don't know if this is the first game, but have you looked at Draymond Green on DraftKings?
Have I looked at him?
Yes.
6,200?
His positions.
Oh. Point guard, small forward's weird.
You don't think point guard's weird?
He started at point guard last game.
Well, yeah, but
and he played backup point guard the game before that.
So shooting guard is the only position on DraftKings in his career he has not been eligible at. So there you go. Draymond Green, point guard, small forward. My, what a wonderful world we live in. So Draymond Green, 6,200. He's gonna do things and stuff, but God, he's just got to be miserable considering there's nobody else really there to help him out. D'Angelo Russell is going to be not even looked at for the next 2 weeks because he had an MRI on his thumb and it is definitely sprained and he's not doing well. So that just makes everything a mess. I kind of like Alec Burks a little bit just to not be on Ky Bowman, but his price is ticking up. I'm still caught off guard by this whole Draymond Green thing at guard, but where do you stand on Burks, Glenn Robinson, the third, Draymond? What do we like amongst this literal hot mess that is the Golden State Warriors?
Assuming Burks starts, I like Burks. I expect either of Burks or Bowman to start. I like whichever one starts because I think it is a good sign for their minutes. Again, Bowman closed over Burks last game, but he was playing really, really well. If he plays to a normal level, I think that Burks closes that game. And so I expect whichever of them starts to more often than not get more minutes. Assuming that's Burks, I prefer Burks to Bowman. Eric Pascal at 5,900 is fine. He's involved offensively. His usage rate takes a nice bump when Russell's not out there. He rebounds. He does everything on the floor. Draymond has a nice ceiling for the price. He's going to have the ball in his hands. He's going to get assist opportunities. The problem is that this team can't shoot and he can't shoot. So your assists go down when the guys you're passing to can't shoot. And his obviously production goes down when teams, if they're playing, if they're thinking at all. You saw it happen in the last game against New Orleans, but they just sag off of Draymond when he has the ball and they make him take a three and he misses it, and then they go the other way. So I think that while he does have a high ceiling, he's a guy that you can consider fading if he's going to get a lot of ownership.
All right, this is how my NFL weekend is going. I said Pat Mahomes dealing with that knee injury, missed 2 games, etc. I said I don't expect to see any running action from him, but he's still mobile in the court. He has a 24-yard rush already tonight, Adam. Literally everything I have said has been wrong with Week 11 NFL. Week 12 cannot get here soon enough. Willie Cauley-Stein, sort of interesting. At least he'll, with all those guys that can't shoot, that means there's rebounds, Adam. So
yeah.
Upside for him, I guess. You've got Marquise Chris, you've got Jordan Poole. They're just playing some serious empty minutes. I mean, Poole's his last 45 minutes on the court, he's 1 for 15. That's not good. Marquise Chris is playing about 15 minutes a game. He has taken a few shots here and there. He could luck into some stuff. Memphis is favored by 6.5. I would not have thought that at the beginning of the season. Amari Spellman is still in the mix for about 15 minutes. That's a bunch of empty minutes. There's really nobody else here. It's all cannon fodder. It wouldn't shock me if any one of 5 guys went for 25 or 30 fantasy points. I have no idea which guy it's going to be.
Right, and it is a good matchup against Memphis, which is the frustrating part. It's a pace-up spot against a pretty weak defense, but I mean, I think I would give the edge to Burks. If Bowman starts, then I like Bowman. Cauley-Stein is fine. Green is fine. Like all 5 guys in the starting lineup, I think, are reasonable. It's just that the salaries have come up enough where you have to at least consider the ownership there.
Yeah. So Memphis playing 107. Their pace number is 107. Possessions per 48. Golden State is at 104. On defensive efficiency, Memphis is not good. They're 6th, allowing 109 points per 100 possessions. Golden State is allowing 113 points per 100 possessions. It's a literal debacle. So now we got to talk a little bit about Memphis here. So the Memphis guys are particularly on DraftKings, but also on. I copied in Yahoo twice. So let me fix that to get the FanDuel numbers in here. But they are perfectly fine on all of the sites. They're not overpriced, but they've been doing a pretty good job of sharing minutes. Everybody kind of gets around 28 to 30 for Brooks, Darren Jackson, assuming he doesn't get in foul trouble, Ja Morant, Joe Val, etc. But some of these guys can really rack up the points if things are going their way, Adam. This, I think, is the side of this game I want to look at. What is your initial assessment?
I think Valanciunas is really interesting. We got 30 minutes from him 2 games ago. Last game was a blowout against Denver, so I think he lost some playing time, but he's going to have so many rebounding opportunities in this game, and obviously he's a good scorer too. So I think Valanciunas is a really strong play. Darren Jackson's cheap enough where I have some interest just because it's a 4-game slate. He can play 30 plus minutes, and Golden State's not a good team defensively. And then even Ja Morant, who is playing around 30 minutes a game. With it being a 4-game slate, you don't have as many guards in that range. He has a massive usage rate on the year, up around 30%. He's really good. It's just a minutes thing, but on this slate, that's not as much of an issue. So I would say I like Valanciunas, Morant, Jackson in that order.
All right.
And also don't sleep on Dillon Brooks. He's actually pretty good, and he's still cheap.
Too bad he wasn't the Brooks that they wanted, or
Yeah.
he was the Brooks that they. He actually was the Brooks they
Yeah.
wanted. It wasn't the Brooks they got, being the Wizards. Oh God, what a mess! Thank God Ernie Grunfeld's gone. Ja Morant is 8,400 on FanDuel, so that is a little spendy, but as Adam mentioned, he's literally been worth it. God, 25 on Yahoo feels a little bit light for him, so that's somebody definitely on your short list there. Moving on to our next game here, the other 8 o'clock game. It's Portland at New Orleans. We don't know anything what's going to happen with Carmelo Anthony, etc. I think if anything, Adam, he'll kind of be worked in. But you had a good point when I was making fun of this being a cry for help and woe is all Portland Trailblazers. The guys he's replacing or would be taking minutes from are pretty awful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Carmelo makes Portland like a title contender or something, but I don't think it makes them worse either when you consider who he's taking minutes from. This isn't,
He's a
you know,
replacement player level. Those guys are below replacement player
right.
levels.
And I assume that he understands the role he's stepping into, that he's not going to be out there with Lillard and McCollum, running, attempting to run the offense.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. He is, let's see, if he ends up being in your player pool. Doesn't I don't know if he's in DKs, but he's 4K on FanDuel. I don't know that he's in Yahoo's either, so we'll have to double check. I just took it from a different source tonight, so they may not have had they may not have had a landing space for him in their database. But setting him aside, Lillard on the back-to-back doesn't concern me as much as it does with Whiteside, depending on how many minutes he ends up playing tonight. As we're recording this, their game's going on. CJ McCollum's been outstanding recently. A lot of that's got to do with his shot falling. Rodney Hood has been his usual infuriating self. And I kind of like Anthony Simmons.
I don't like Simons, but
I think it's Simmons, by the way.
okay, I don't like him no matter how his name is pronounced.
It's spelled Simons, but I
Yeah,
believe Eddie was telling me he said it's Simmons.
yeah. I don't care. I'm not interested either way.
Is he a poor man's Kobe White?
No. Yeah, I mean, Melo being back, I think just takes, or not being back, Melo being there, if he's there, I think just takes value away from all of those secondary guys. It basically just leaves you with Lillard, Whiteside, McCollum, who I think all three are really good options.
Yeah, and then it's cannon fodder at that point. On the other side, New Orleans, they have had injury issues rivaling those of Golden State. Brandon Ingram's still dealing with the knee injury. It's kind of a wait and see. Lonzo Ball's missed a ton of games with the groin injury. That's still kind of a wait and see.
And sorry, it's pronounced Simons.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to save that one. Tune in next Saturday for Live Before Lock and see me drop that one on Eddie. That'll be fun. Jackson Hayes could have a moment. JJ Redick dealing with the sore toe, but he's been, reliable score for them. You've got Alexander Walker, who had a hot minute there on Sunday. What the hell did we want to do with New Orleans? And who are you guessing? Ingram's still out, Ball's still out.
I don't know. I mean, Ingram's been out for a while.
Games.
Like, yeah, he's been questionable for several games now. He was probable the other day and then downgraded to questionable. I kind of assume that he comes back either this game or sometime soon. Lonzo, I think maybe takes a little bit longer, but I mean, I think this is just a team where you're gonna have to wait and see what players are in or out. Like if Lonzo and Frank Jackson are out, obviously you can go back to Alexander Walker. If they're both in, Alexander Walker becomes useless. If they're all back, then the team as a whole, for the most part, becomes useless. Yeah, it's just a lot of moving pieces, and really tough to break down when everyone's listed as questionable.
All right, so here's the quick updates. This is courtesy of Roto World, but just so everybody has a baseline when you hear this. Frank Jackson questionable for Tuesday. He was hurt on Saturday, left early with a neck injury. Lonzo Ball has missed 5 games. He is questionable with a groin injury. Jahlil Okafor is doubtful with a sprained ankle. He has not played in 3 games. Josh Hart is ruled out. This will be the 4th straight day he has been out. Ingram has missed 4 games. He is questionable. MRI came back clean, but he's still dealing with soreness. So they're not going to push him if he doesn't need to come back. Derek Favors is ruled out as well with the back injury already. So even knowing that, there's still a bunch of question marks with these guys. Kenrich Williams, he's got to be the one guy that at least should have some value.
Yeah, but his salary has come up too. I mean, he's almost 6K on DraftKings. The guy doesn't have a role offensively. He just runs around, grabs rebounds, steals passes, makes some layups or corner threes occasionally. Like it's so tough for him to actually exceed a $5,700 price tag.
All right, let's head on to our last two games here. Phoenix at Sacramento. We do have a 220 projected point total for this one. Sacramento favored by a point. Phoenix, do you know what Phoenix's record is, Adam?
No,
Would it shock you if you knew they were 500?
I actually figured it was better.
They're 7-4. They are fifth in the Western Conference right
Oh, okay,
now.
yeah.
Wow! When did that happen? Ricky Rubio has made them legitimate, one would think. Well, and not playing Josh Jackson. So,
Speaking of Rubio, Rubio was downgraded to doubtful on Monday, so obviously pay attention to the news for that for this game.
ooh, would have been. Is that game tipped off yet?
I don't know.
All right, we have to go change some lineups here. Let's see here. Oh, that game. Yeah, it's already locked. Never mind. Okay, so back to that one. That again, no secret, we're recording this on Monday night. That game literally just tipped off, so we'll have to see what's going on there. Kelly Oubre, I don't know what to do with him, Adam. He has been infuriating. Not been he's been good his last couple games, but he had been a mess prior to that. You've got I guess Devin Booker, who is the cover boy of our podcast here. He's kind of interesting, but I don't like any of these guys on the back to back against Boston. We have 8 teams. I don't want to cross them out, but I don't know what I like from this team. Can you find anything that you like from Phoenix?
Well, this one's against Sacramento, not Boston. So
I'm sorry. I've got the wrong screen up. I do.
so
Yes.
I mean,
Sorry.
obviously,
I still okay. Sacramento playing one of the slowest pace in the league, and his hot garbage. I don't know what I like from the Suns.
I really like Booker if Rubio's out because his efficiency offensively has been better this year because of Rubio, but it's hurt his DFS production because his usage has come down, his assists have come down. If Rubio's out, I imagine that Booker has the ball in his hands a lot more. His assists go up. He's taking more shots, even if he's not making them at the same rate. So I would like him a lot if Rubio sits. I think that $4,900 Aaron Baines is a pretty strong option. He should get around 30 minutes against the Kings front court. So those two stand out to me.
All right. I can get behind that. On the other side, the Kings, another team that is dealing with a lot of guys who are banged up, but they are a team that I like for Bogdanovich. He is the guy that stands out for me. I don't, not a fan really of Rashawn Holmes, but he has been getting minutes 27, 29, 31, 29, 31, 29 in his last few. That is pretty healthy. He is starting. Hey, revenge, I guess. Can you have revenge going from one non playoff team to another? I don't know. But I don't mind the matchup for him. And then, oh, shoot. Who's there? Cory Joseph. We can't play Cory Joseph, can we? He's just bad, right?
I mean, for his career, he's like a point, or not for his career. Over the last couple of years, he's like a 0.75 fantasy point per minute guy. At 4,300, that's pretty reasonable. The minutes obviously can fluctuate, but
He
I
had
think
8 fantasy points in 26 minutes in his last game.
What did you say?
He had 8 fantasy points in 26 minutes in his
Oh,
last game.
yeah, nice.
In his 3 combined starts, he has 7 NBA points, Adam.
Solid. Yeah, so I mean, at 4,300, he's okay. I mean, I wouldn't like be excited to have him. He's just not that kind of player, but it's a cheap enough price tag where if he's low owned, you can take a shot. Bogdan Bogdanovich, I think, is still the most appealing guy for me, just because his usage and his assist opportunities go up so much when he plays without the Aaron Fox. So he's the one that really stands out. Buddy Hield obviously gets a minutes bump. It doesn't really do him any favors for his usage or efficiency, but he's going to play more minutes at least.
The interesting thing with Bogdan is he generally plays literally the entire fourth quarter, but he's been coming in earlier and earlier in the third quarter and just running it all the way through. I didn't look at his last game, but he had for like 3 straight games, which is kind of interesting. A long way of saying don't be worried if he doesn't start. He'll be out there when it counts. Anything else from this game before we hit our last one?
Nope.
All right, OKC on the back-to-back. They played or are going to be playing the Clippers momentarily here. Then they turn around and play the Lakers. The interesting thing here is what are we going to do with Steven Adams, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee. They all actually get to play against their fellow behemoths. Does that interest you at all?
Not really. I mean, Adams is kind of interesting just because he's so cheap. But as far as McGee and Howard go, it's just really tough to sign the minutes when Davis is playing and Kuzma's back.
All right. Moving
Or
on
assigning
to
enough minutes, rather.
how about LeBron and Davis? We mentioned a little bit about having them both on the same team. Is that something you would consider doing again, considering this? I don't know how many times am I going to use the word considering, with this being a similar setup of a 4-game slate, and they are on it.
I wouldn't do it for a couple reasons. For one, I think it was kind of unnecessary the other night when I did it anyway. But the other night there was just like massive amounts of value because that was the game that Golden State played against the Pelicans, and everyone was less than $4,000 basically. So you just had more money than you knew what to do with. Also in that game, LeBron, if I remember correctly, was like 10,600, but more importantly, Davis was 9,200. So it wasn't even like you were paying close to full salary for them. Now Davis is up to 9,800. LeBron's at 11,100. You're spending 40% of your salary on two guys from the same team. Davis is playing through an injury. He's played awful the last couple of games for whatever that's worth. My approach to that would be if his ownership is projected to be low, then take a shot on him because he's playing through it. He's going to have good games sooner than later. And obviously, if you can get him at low ownership, then that's appealing. But if he's going to be really popular, then there is some risk that he's just not going to be as good because he's playing through an injury. So I would prefer LeBron, and Davis for me would be dependent on projected ownership.
All right. Let's look at Kyle Kuzma. Actually, has been solid lately. He's going to kind of be the third guy there, and it's something I think we want to take a look at from time to time. On to the Thunder here, and darn it, I closed the wrong screen. I haven't looked how many minutes, and you probably can get to it faster than I can, but I'm pulling it up now. Anyway, how many minutes is Chris Paul sort of been playing on back to back? Is there any
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
rhyme or reason? Let me get over here. Where's Chris Paul? Let's go look at him. All right, so calling up on let's see, back to backs. He has played two. He has played 33 minutes in each of them. So that's right in line with his season average. So it doesn't appear to be anything to worry about too much there. The last one was Golden State, where he played 30 and a half minutes. He played the next night against Milwaukee. He played 32. And then the other one was also against Golden State. He only played 19 minutes. That was a blowout where Golden State got their ass kicked. He did play the next night against Houston. Hey, he's familiar with them, 34. So I think we'll see similar minutes unless something goes awry on Monday night with him. How are you liking him? Gallinari, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, etc., etc.
Not that appealing of a game because the Lakers play a slow pace and they've actually been the most efficient defensive team this year. Paul's price tags come up as it should. He's been playing better than he was at the beginning of the year, but it's to a point where you start to lose some excess value, especially in a relatively unappealing matchup. Gilgeous-Alexander still getting big minutes, still affordable, but same issue as always that he's a scorer first and second and third, and then you kind of start getting some rebounds and assists. Most of those peripherals are just being siphoned off by Paul and Dennis Schroeder. So I think that Gilgeous-Alexander as a scorer is a decent play. Dennis Schroeder at 4,800 is interesting though because he's still playing 28 to 30 minutes. We've seen them at times close with all three of them on the floor. That's a pretty cheap price tag relative to like compared to Paul and Gilgeous-Alexander, I think.
The Lakers thing is just wild. Last year they had a 107 defensive efficiency, kind of in the middle of the league. But this year they have a 97, which is right there with Utah. You're right there, basically they're first by a tick. That's a 10-point improvement. That to me is just kind of shocking how different that is. But I mean they turned over their entire roster, and now they got Davis and Howard as opposed to the Passel guys they sent down there to the Pelicans. But that's a huge improvement from a 1-year difference.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Let's look a little bit here. Anything else, or shall we hit a couple presenting sponsor Yahoo questions here?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. So our cheapies here, we would have to give up our center spot, but Jackson Hayes at 11, assuming they run the same lineup out there they did last time. Willie Cauley-Stein at 14 or Kai Bowman at 12.
If Bowman's starting, then Bowman. If not, Hayes.
All right. And not all $10 and $11 players are created equal. You have Anthony Simmons. You have Cory Joseph at 10 and 11. They're no bueno, but I do like Dillon Brooks at 12. I'm assuming you concur.
Yeah, Brooks at 12 was really nice.
And if we're looking at the high end of things, would you go Davis at 50, LeBron at 51, or Lillard at 43?
LeBron.
Right. And then if you have not yet signed up for Yahoo, you can do so by going to any of the cash game building block articles or the primetime NFL articles. Bottom of the article has a little instructions and a link with the promo code on how you can claim your $30 in YSRPs with your initial DFS deposit bonus. Any final thoughts, Adam, before we get on out of here with a still somewhat intriguing and filled with decision point 4-game slate?
Should be pretty fun. Doesn't look like there's a ton of really underpriced guys, but there's some value you can get to. Obviously, news will be really important with most of the Pelicans teams still questionable.
All right, with that, we are going to get on out of here. You can follow Adam at ShipMyMoneyDFS. I am at EMACDFS, and it is Awesemo_COM. With that, gamers, good luck.